everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm finally going to teach you guys how to make bone broth. So if you saw my last recipe video, I taught you guys how to make my gut healing soup, and in that soup I put bone broth. So today we're in my kitchen so I can teach you how to make that bone broth. So let's break it down. What exactly is bone broth? Basically what we're going to do is we're going to cook down bones in a big pot basically all day long. And so why bone broth is extremely healing is because when you're cooking down these bones, things are being extracted into the broth. One of those things is collagen. It also has amino acids like glycine. If you know anything about my program, you know that I tell you guys to take glycine, especially before bed, because it helps you sleep throughout the night. So, I'm in my kitchen, and this is the size pot that I'm going to be using today. It's not a huge pot, so if you don't have a really big pot, don't feel bad about it. I basically cook for myself, and this will end up yielding about 4 or 5 cups of broth, and so I'll keep it in my fridge or my freezer depending on how much I want to use it. So then when you go to use the bone broth, especially if you have cooked the bones for 12 hours, anywhere between 10 to 12 hours, then when you make soups with it, you can dilute the bone broth. So put in 1 cup of bone broth to a couple cups of water. So I have this pot. So I have this pot right here, and you're going to have to make sure that you have a lid. The lid is very important in making this bone broth. So let's jump right in. Okay, so over here we have the pile of bones, and I don't want to be too graphic with this. I know not everybody likes the look of bones, but if you want to make this soup, you kind of have to tough it out. Where did I get my bones from? So right here I have free-range chicken bones, and I'm lucky enough that there is a grocer up the street from me that sells rotisserie chicken, so meaning that the chicken was cooked rotisserie style, which is, it basically was like cooked like this. It was twisted as it was cooked, and they just sell it as a rotisserie chicken, so it's cleaned, it's just the bones and the meat. And so I'll eat off of the meat for about a week until it's all gone. So in this cup right here I have the leftover meat that I was able to cut off of the bones. And so this I'm going to store in the fridge, or if you have too much, stored in the freezer. So basically right here is all of the bones, and I'm going to be putting them in this pot. So what we're going to do is fill this pot with the bones, then we're going to add in filtered water. You don't want to use just tap water, you want to make sure it's filtered. And then from there I'm going to add in apple cider vinegar and a couple spices. So I don't know if you guys can see, but at the bottom here there's a lot of this brown jiggly stuff, and this is actually collagen. So you want to make sure to get that out of the container. So as you guys can see, this is pretty full, and what I want to do is break down this section and make sure it lies flatter in my pot. So you guys may notice that there is quite a bit of meat still left on here. It kind of just depends on your preference. I eat all the meat that I like, and then the rest I use in this bone broth. So now that I have it a little bit flatter, I'm going to add the filtered water. Okay, we have our bones now in our pot, and it's filled with water. Now we're going to add a little bit of salt, some spices, and we're going to add apple cider vinegar. This is the brand of apple cider vinegar that I use. It's just by the brand Bragg, and you want to make sure that it's with the mother. So I'm only going to put 2 capfuls in for the size of my pot. And that's it. Now going in, I'm going to put just a little bit of salt. I don't really need to season my bone broth because I add it to soups later on. So I'm just going to leave this plain because I want it to be versatile enough so that I can make more savory soups with herbs like thyme, or I can make even cheesier soups with nutritional yeast. So I'm just going to leave that like this, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, a little bit of sea salt, and now we're going to get on to the best part, cooking it. Okay, so the oven is behind me, and I wanted to talk through you guys what is going to happen next. So we've totally prepared the bones and the water and the apple cider vinegar. So now what we're going to do is you want to put it on a burner. Maybe it's the back burner so it's out of the way, and you're going to turn it on high for about 5 to 10 minutes. So what you want it to do is to start boiling, but stay near your oven, like stay near your stove, because when it starts to boil, you don't want it to boil over. And so as soon as it starts boiling, you're going to turn it on low or turn it on simmer so that it's warm and it's heating it, but it's not boiling and overcooking it. So we're going to do that right now. So I just turned the back burner on high, and one little trick is if you put the lid on, it actually will boil faster. So while the bones are on the stove and they are about to start boiling, I just wanted to talk to you about the importance of bone broth and why I suggest bone broth for eczema healing. And I also wanted to offer a couple of alternatives in case you can't get bones, or if in case you can't get the supplies to make your homemade bone broth, what are the other options? So let's start with the bone broth itself. So why is it so important for healing eczema? So the root cause of eczema is something called leaky gut. And what leaky gut is there's a bunch of holes that are in your intestines. And that's from eating things like gluten, lactose, egg whites, all sorts of different things, stress as well. Stress will cause intestinal permeability, which is another name for leaky gut. So things like collagen, glycine, different amino acids work to repair that gut lining and mend the holes. And so that's why bone broth is such a huge thing with trying to heal disorders and diseases and autoimmune conditions like eczema, is because the root cause of all of these things is leaky gut, and bone broth helps heal leaky gut. So one thing that's very important, you should look to make your bone broth from grass-fed beef if you're going to use beef bones. Make sure that if you're going to use chicken bones, they're free-range chicken, because our industries aren't very clean, and you're going to end up making bone broth that is more toxic than it is helpful. So make sure you can source good bones, good ingredients. You can even go to a local butcher and ask for bones. You should definitely be able to do that. You can make bone broth from ox, like oxtail, and that's perfectly fine. So what happens if you can't find grass-fed beef, free-range chicken? If you live in America, I have 2 different products that I recommend. So the first is Ancient Nutrition bone broth, and the fun part about this is it is flavored chocolate, and it has a whole line of different flavors. It has vanilla, chocolate. I have like a pumpkin spice on top of my cabinet. And so what you can do with this, mix it into banana nice cream. So you can freeze bananas, blend them up, and add some of this. You can make a hot chocolate with this. And so it's really delicious, and it gives you the same benefits of bone broth. Another option you can use is this. So this is Natural Whole Nutrition Vital Proteins. So I know it's a little bit bright, but I hope you guys can at least see it a little bit. This has collagen, so the ingredients are coconut milk powder, vanilla flavor, bamboo shoot, and a whole range of amino acids. So it has glycine in it, it has lysine. So both of those are really great for healing eczema. It has a whole list of the different amino acids. So this is a huge recommendation. This has collagen peptides in it. Collagen is great for eczema. Bone broth, collagen, basically the same thing. So This is a powder, just like this is a powder as well. And this is actually a creamer. It is a vanilla flavored creamer, and you can just add this. It's not sweet whatsoever. This one is very sweet. It is sweetened with stevia, but this one is not very sweet. This also contains coconut milk, so if you're in stage 1, maybe don't have this, but in stage 1, you can have this. Okay, so one other thing that's kind of important for you guys to realize is, so for example, because this has a whole amino acid profile, meaning it has so many different amino acids, so let me explain something biologically to you as to why this is important. So amino acids make protein. Protein does so many different functions in your body. It absolutely does so many different things. And so basically the different amino acids will come together to form different proteins. So when you have something like this product that has so many different amino acids, it'll let your body heal or function in so many different ways because you're giving it building blocks. Amino acids are called the building blocks of proteins. So those are 2 other options. I hear the stove behind me and I think it might be simmering. So I'm going to pull you guys in close because I want you to see something. So you can see something really cool happening right now. It does kind of look like there is soap, but ignore that. So one thing that's happening really cool, as this starts to simmer and everything comes together, you'll start to see that there are these little circles. So that's the good stuff. When you start to see that there's like all of these circles on the top of it, and it kind of looks like oil, that's the good stuff. So you know this is going to be really good when you start to see that on the top. It's interesting because mine is foaming up a little bit right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to stir it, and I stir my bone broth. I found the string that hold the chicken together. So as you see, it is starting to steam, and in a little while it's going to start to boil. So it's already starting to get pretty hot. And what I was referring to is there's like some shimmer and shine and like oil particles on the top of this, and that's when you know you have some good bones and some good collagen, and that this is going to be very healing. So what I suggest doing is stirring it maybe once every 3 hours, just making sure that everything from the bottom is going to the top and everything's mixing in. You don't have to do that. You can let it simmer for 6 to 12 hours and it'll be perfectly fine. So I'm going to pop the top back on here and check it later, but I really want you guys to see what I'm talking about with the oil circles in the back. Okay, I think you guys can see a little bit better now. So I'm referring to all of those circles there in the back. That is great news, and when you start to see that, you know you're going to have some really good bone broth. Okay, so we're going to let this cook. I like to cook it from anywhere between like 8 to 12 hours. It's kind of later in the day right now, so I think it'll end up cooking for about 8 hours. And so I might check in with you guys later just to show you what the end product looks like and show you how to separate the bones from the liquid. All you really need is a strainer. So we're gonna let this cook and I'll see you guys later. Okay, it's been about 8 hours since I last talked to you guys, and I wanted to just check in on the bone broth. So here it is. As you see, the broth has gotten extremely gold. We have a nice film on the top. So it is pretty much done. So all I'm gonna do is take a strainer. So we're gonna go down here, grab the strainer, and I'm gonna grab, so I basically, sometimes I keep mine in jars, and then other times I'll use these little reusable containers. And so I'm gonna put this in the sink, put the strainer on top of it, and just strain out the bones. And that is it. So that wraps this up. Go make your own bone broth. guys so much for watching this video. If this helped you, and if you're gonna make bone broth, give this video a thumbs up. And please let me know in the comments down below if you like these recipe videos. Do you find this helpful? Do you like learning about why we are creating what we're creating? If so, let me know. Give this a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments. And I will see you guys in my next video. And if you make this recipe, let me know. Also, if you have any questions, let me know as well. See ya!